I'm Natasha, and this is Nightline, the top stories. Sultan Nazrin warns against obsession with materialism, power and status. And Trump ramps up pressure on Tehran, announces 25% tariff on any country trading with Iran. The Sultan of Perak, Sultan Nazrin Muizzuddin Shah, has expressed concern over some Muslims being caught up in waves of materialism, obsession with positions, and intoxication with power. His Royal Highness said that material wealth has become a sort of new creed for some, driving them to act in ways that contradict ethical principles. Sultan Nazrin, who chaired the 74th National Council for Islamic Religious Affairs (MKI) meeting in Kuala Lumpur on Tuesday, said that the greed for positions and power has fostered a culture of bribery aimed at securing allegiance.
Jawatan dan kuasa yang disandang pada hari ini merupakan ujian terhadap tingkat keimanan dan ketakwaan seseorang insan apabila dianugerahi dengan jawatan dan kuasa. Jawatan dan kuasa, jika tidak dikembari dengan iman dan takwa, boleh menjejaskan ketauhidan seseorang insan.
His Royal Highness also cautioned against the culture of slander used to undermine others, warning that it breeds ignorance and can lead people away from following God's guidance. This MKI meeting is the third session chaired by Sultan Nazrin since March 10th last year. Also in attendance was Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister said that the decree and council of the Sultan of Perak are profoundly meaningful and should be heeded by all. The decree also serves as a guide in facing current challenges while strengthening the values and conscience of Muslims in the country. In a social media post, Anwar stated that the government will continue to strengthen its commitment to enhance the administration of Islamic affairs in an inclusive and effective manner. This will be implemented through a spirit of interstate consultation anchored in the Federal Constitution. Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki is expected to pay a courtesy call to Defence Minister Datuk Sri Muhammad Khalid Nordin and senior ministry officials next week. The meeting comes amid concerns over governance weaknesses in the Defence Ministry's procurement processes. The anti-graft body chief was met by the media on Tuesday, where he was asked about the gravity of the probe.
How big is the problem within MINDEF?
You just imagine how big is the problem is based on the rank. It has to be big, and surely it's big.
Azam said this after signing a Memorandum of Understanding with Help University and launching the Forum on Governance and Integrity Series 2026. He was commenting on MACC's probe into allegations that large amounts of money had been deposited into the bank accounts of a senior military officer and his family members. Following this, 17 company directors were arrested on suspicion of being part of a procurement cartel involving the army. On January 7th, former Army Chief General Tan Sri Muhammad Hafizuddin Jantan and his two wives were among 5 people arrested by the MACC over alleged irregularities linked to army procurement tenders. On January 9th, MACC announced that another senior military officer was being investigated and is expected to be charged soon over the alleged misuse of funds. Meanwhile, the MACC will announce the status of the investigation into the case involving Muhammad Hafizuddin this Thursday. His remand period will be extended if necessary.
I need to check with my investigators because actually we have 14 days. So now, if tomorrow will be 7 days, it depends. If they need more time, then we will apply to court to get more remand.
Muhammad Hafizuddin and his two wives have been remanded for 7 days starting last Thursday. The MACC also seized cash and gold bars worth nearly 7 million ringgit to assist the investigation. The Prime Minister said Malaysia will remain actively involved in international humanitarian efforts to defend the rights of the Palestinian people amid the worsening crisis in Gaza. Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the government would be directly involved in the global Sumut Flotilla 2.0 as part of a broader international moral struggle that demands courage in upholding justice and humanitarian rights, regardless of borders, race, or religion. In his social media post late Tuesday, the Prime Minister said that the government will mobilize all its efforts to help and defend the rights of the Palestinian people. Anwar said he had earlier received a courtesy call from Sumut Nusantara Command Center Director General Datuk Sani Arabi, who is also the chief humanitarian activist of MAPIM, together with Nadir Al-Nuri, founder of Sumut Nusantara, at Perdana Putra. Among others, he said discussions also touched on upcoming humanitarian initiatives, including Malaysia's key role in the global Sumut Flotilla 2.0, which is expected to involve participation from more than 80 countries. Anwar said he was informed of the escalating humanitarian situation in Gaza, the ongoing aid sanctions, the uncertainty of the conflict, and the continuing suffering of the cruelty of the Palestinians. The Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, MCMC, is pressing ahead with legal action against social media platform X. This is over its alleged failure to ensure user safety, particularly involving the misuse of the platform's artificial intelligence AI chatbot, Grok. In a statement, MCMC said legal proceedings in cooperation with the Communications Ministry will begin soon, with solicitors already appointed. The Commission added that it has identified the misuse of Grok to generate and disseminate harmful content. This includes obscene, sexually explicit content, indecent and grossly offensive material, as well as manipulated images created without consent. The Commission added that content allegedly involving women and minors is of serious concern. MCMC further said notices were issued to X Corp and XAI LLC on January 3rd and 8th, requiring the removal of the offending content, but no remedial action had been taken.
Ini satu pelanggaran undang-undang dalam negara kita, pelanggaran Akta Komunikasi dan Multimedia dan juga Akta Keselamatan dalam Talian. Pihak X telah memberi maklum balas, tapi maklum balas ini sangat tidak memadai.
The Education Ministry, MOE, has urged parents to submit complaints if the 150 ringgit early schooling aid BAP payment per student has been deducted. Minister Fadlina Siddiq emphasized that the aid must be dispersed in full without any deductions to ensure it achieves its intended purpose. According to Fadlina, the BAP initiative is the government's commitment to help ease the financial burden on parents in preparing their children for the new school year.
Jadi kalau ada isu-isu lain, yuran-yuran lain itu, maknanya itu kena diselesaikan cara lain lah. Jadi RM150 ini hanya untuk bantuan orang sekolahan dan mesti diserahkan dengan jumlah RM150 itu.
She was commenting on claims by parents on social media that their children's schools had deducted BAP payments to settle Parent-Teacher Association PIBG fees. The nationwide BAP program involves an allocation of over 800 million ringgit, benefiting approximately 5.2 million students from Year 1 to Form 6. The disbursement of the aid is expected to be completed by the end of the week, covering nearly 10,000 schools. The Sultan of Kedah, Al-Aminul Karim Sultan Salihuddin Sultan Badli Shah, today granted an audience to Media Prima Berhad Group Chairman Datuk Seri Dr. Syed Husain Al-Junid at Istana Anak Bukit in Alor Star, Kedah. The audience took place at the Balai Mengadap Besar. Attendants were Media Prima Omnia Chief Operating Officer Datuk Muhammad Effendi Omar, Media Prima Group Corporate Communications and Chairman's Office Group General Manager Azlan Abdul Aziz. During the meeting, the ruler and the Media Prima leadership discussed several matters with particular emphasis on Kedah's tourism and cultural sectors. The MPB Group chairman said Media Prima Berhad was pleased to collaborate with the state in promoting its tourism offerings and cultural heritage.
Semasa perbincangan dengan Kebawah Duli Yang Maha Mulia Sultan Kedah, kita juga telah berbincang bagaimana kerjasama dan juga kolaborasi dapat diadakan dengan platform-platform yang sedia ada di Media Prima bagi menggalakkan pelancong-pelancong datang ke negeri Kedah.
Kedah offers a rich tapestry of tourism experiences extending beyond the legendary island of Langkawi to mainland attractions such as Tanjung Dawai, Gunung Jerai, the Ulu Muda rainforest and sweeping vistas of vast paddy fields. Beyond its landscapes, Kedah is equally compelling for its authentic Malay cuisine, deep-rooted cultural traditions and layered history as one of the country's oldest civilizations. The body of the man who died in the air conditioning system explosion at a private university in the capital was claimed by his family on Tuesday for funeral arrangements. Another victim is reported to be in a coma, while 2 others remain in hospital. A somber atmosphere enveloped the National Institute of Forensic Medicine at Kuala Lumpur Hospital at 2:45 p.m. as family members arrived to collect the remains of the late 24-year-old Su Yu Juan following the completion of the post-mortem examination. The body of the University Tunku Abdul Rahman UTAR student was taken to Nirvana Center Kuala Lumpur for family, relatives and friends to pay their final respects before being cremated at Nirvana Crematorium in Shah Alam. Su succumbed to his injuries while receiving treatment at the hospital. The third-year mechanical engineering student was undergoing industrial training with an air conditioning maintenance company when the incident occurred. The explosion at 11:40 a.m. on Monday involving an air conditioning compressor in the university's 4th-floor cafeteria also injured 9 others. Meanwhile, one of the injured victims, a 19-year-old from Johor Bahru, remains unconscious with internal head injuries and a fractured skull and is being closely monitored by doctors. Another victim, a 54-year-old contractor, is in a semi-conscious state and awaiting surgery to remove metal shrapnel from his body. The third victim, a 22-year-old Indonesian man who worked at the university cafeteria, is receiving treatment at the Sungai Buloh Hospital. 6 other victims who were admitted for treatment have since been discharged. Sarawak Premier Tan Sri Abang Johari Abang Openg is leaving it to the courts to decide on an application by Petronas seeking clarification on the regulation of the petroleum industry in the state. Abang Johari said since the issue involves both the federal and state governments, it is appropriate for the court to determine the direction and resolution of the matter. He described the application as a standard legal step for any party seeking clarity, particularly on matters involving jurisdiction and mutual interest. Abang Johari described the move as normal and that it will not have a significant impact. The Premier added that all parties must ultimately find the best solution in accordance with the country's legal principles. On the future of cooperation between Petronas and Petroleum-Sarawak Berhad Petros following the court's decision, Abang Johari said it would depend entirely on the final judgment. Bursa Malaysia's benchmark index closed at an intraday high of 1,708.20 on Tuesday. It was its highest level in more than 6 years, supported by broadly positive regional sentiment following gains on Wall Street and sustained foreign buying interest. The benchmark FTSE Bursa Malaysia KLCI rose 12.76 points or 0.75% compared with Monday's close of 1,695.44. The index surpassed its previous peak of 1,707.73 recorded on February 28, 2019. Market breadth was positive, with gainers leading losers 542 to 536, while some 550 counters were unchanged, 1,010 untraded, and 12 suspended. Now, according to economist Muhammad Afzan Nizam Abdul Rashid, traders are anticipating an unchanged overnight policy rate OPR at 2.75% at the Central Bank's Monetary Policy Committee MPC meeting on January 22nd, and this seems to be contributing to the constructive view on the local Bursa's benchmark index.
So coupled with the anticipation of no change in OPR, along with steady economic growth, this has actually become the main catalyst for higher equity prices at the moment. So I think we shall see our stock markets will continue to perform well, especially when the valuation seems to remain attractive. Looking at the FBM KLCR, PE multiples now currently stands at about 16 times, which is still well below than the long-term average of 17 times. And looking at the stability in political landscape and the ongoing measures to be implemented under Budget 2026, along with the 13 Malaysian plans, we sense that there are more catalysts for Malaysian equity prices to go higher in the immediate terms.
Drugs worth more than 1 million ringgit seized. This and more from the local front after this breather.
ايش يا هنود؟ يلا يلا هيني انا معاكي على الخط عبال ما تشوفي حدا من الهلال لعندك، اوكي؟ رح ننقذك يا قلبي. تخيلي حالك عم بتشمي بوردة، تخيلي بحر غزة ورمل غزة.
Saya tak suka lelaki peramatang macam awak.
Macam awak tahu saya peramatang?
Hijab you tu belum terbuka tau. Malah jaga kau untuk ayah.
Kau tak kuat.
Jangan Zakri.
Mami, benda ni dah menyusahkan Mami. Saya cakap saya minta maaf.
Baiklah, saya maafkan awak. Kau tak tahu kekuatan aku lagi kan? Di tengah ketakutan, suara kecil ini meminta simpati.
Suara terakhir yang tidak akan pernah padam. Ini adalah kekejaman yang menghapuskan suara kecilnya.
Ini adalah pertanyaan kepada dunia. Di manakah hati dan nurani?
انت شو اسم العيلة؟ شو اسمك الكامل؟
Apakah yang mendorong si pelaku sehingga tergamak melakukan kekejaman ini?
Siapa nak kahwin dengan awak? Dah tua macam ni. 26 adalah buka tikaman.
Apakah hubungan antara mereka?
Dan beritahu majikannya yang dia sudah bunuh seorang wanita.
Thanks for staying with us. 3 work colleagues were killed after an MPV they were traveling in was involved in a collision in Gua Musang, Kelantan on Tuesday. The accident also involved a plantation worker's van and a car. The incident occurred around 1 p.m. on Jalan Gua Musang, Kuala Krai, near Kampung Paloh. All 3 MPV passengers died at the scene. The victims have been identified as Nik Nazmi Nik Othman, Muhammad Saiful Kamaruzaman, and Nik Razizi Nik Abdul Rahim, aged between 33 and 55. The MPV driver was reported to be seriously injured and was taken to Gua Musang Hospital. 2 other injured victims, both plantation workers, included the van driver and a woman. The car driver, however, was uninjured. The bodies were also taken to the same hospital for post-mortem. The cause of the crash is being investigated under the Road Transport Act. In Malacca, a man was killed following an explosion involving a welding machine at a recycling factory in Bukit Rambai Industrial Park on Tuesday. According to the State Fire and Rescue Department, the incident occurred around 1:30 p.m. The 44-year-old victim died at the scene after sustaining burns over almost his entire body. Another man, aged 32, also suffered burn injuries and was taken to Malacca Hospital for treatment. The body of the deceased was sent to the same hospital for post-mortem. Authorities said a hazardous materials hazmat team was deployed to the facility to monitor toxic gases and confirmed that the area was safe. The cause of the blast is still being investigated. Police have dismantled a drug trafficking syndicate after arresting 5 men, including the group's mastermind, during a raid on a house in Taman Bukit Indah, Johor Bahru last Friday. Various types of drugs, including shabu and MDMA powder, weighing a total of 21.75 kilograms with an estimated value of 1.45 million ringgit, were seized from the premises. It is believed that the house was being used as a storage facility for the illicit substances. Authorities also seized several vehicles and cash amounting to more than 270,000 ringgit. All those detained, aged between 43 and 53, have been remanded to facilitate police investigations under the Dangerous Drugs Act. In Malacca, the former chairman of Pertubuhan Kebajikan Serantau Muslim, Muhammad Hakim Muhammad Noor, was hit with 7 additional counts of misappropriating the organization's humanitarian aid funds, amounting to over 576,000 ringgit. The 39-year-old accused claimed trial to all the charges before Judge Elizabeth Payawan at the Air Kuro Sessions Court on Tuesday. He was charged with committing the offense involving funds raised for humanitarian aid missions carried out in collaboration with other NGOs in Myanmar, Yemen, Syria and Palestine at a bank branch in Merlimau between June 2019 and May 2021. The court granted bail of 35,000 ringgit with one surety and set March 13th for case mention. On Monday, Hakim pleaded not guilty to similar charges involving 207,000 ringgit in the Kuala Lumpur Sessions Court. South Korea prosecutor seeks death penalty for ex-President Yoon. The details when Nightline returns.
Dah berapa kali saya tegur. Pasal makeup, pasal penampilan awak. Kamu buat lagi
Ramai orang mula bercakap pasal hubungan rapat kamu dengan Nisa.
Saya akan kongsi susah senang awak dekat sini. Macam mana sekalipun saya nak juga awak habis belajar kat sini.
Saya tak rasa yang saya langgar apa-apa peraturan baik itu.
Cuma hal ni kalau boleh jangan sampai isteri saya tahu.
Laila mengandung.
Sekati awaklah kalau awak takut.
Saya sayangkan awak.
Anissa ni dah tak boleh belajar dekat sini.
Okey.
Sungguh kejam kan untuk tidak menuai benih semayam beta di ladang Adinda.
Nampak gayanya Maria ni kena buatan orang. Dia kena sihir pemisah.
Wan, cuma kita gerak cuma.
Jangan pergi, Man. Tunggu aku, Man. Man, aku nak keluar, Man. Tolonglah, Man.
Aku rasa aku nampak Iqbal kat sana tadi. Aku dapat rasa dia dekat sana.
Muat turun dan layan tonton sekarang. Semua favourite anda di sini.
Suara merdu dan Mia buat aku tidur lena di malam hari.
Daripada hari itu, Mama memang tak nak Mel pergi mana-mana lagi dah.
Korang tahu tak apa maknanya SPR? SPR tu tujuannya nak selamatkan nyawa. Dibuatkan tanpa perasaan.
Kau kena bertanggungjawab atas adik aku.
Aku nak kita bertiga kekal besties forever and ever.
My Stolen First Love, Jumaat dan Sabtu 9 malam di Lestari TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Tak dapatkan nak tunaikan tu, orang kata banyaklah sebenarnya. Tapi akak harap sebelum akak pergi tu, orang kata Allah mudahkan urusan akak untuk akak tunaikanlah semua apa yang anak akak nak lah, kalau boleh lah kan. Tapi orang kata dalam semua doa kita tu Allah takkan tunaikan semua. Permintaan anak tu orang kata dapat tunaikan sebahagian daripada itu pun akak rasa akak dah bersyukur dah.
News from the foreign front. Donald Trump has announced an immediate 25% tariff on any country trading with Iran, ramping up pressure on Tehran over its violent crackdown on a wave of domestic protests. The U.S. president said that the new duty would be effective immediately. The statement came as Trump was reportedly considering military action, with airstrikes listed among the options for U.S. intervention. Following Trump's announcement, many of Iran's major trading partners, including China, Turkey, the United Arab Emirates, and India, were affected. Washington, however, emphasized that diplomatic channels remain open through Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. Iran is grappling with large-scale protests against Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's leadership, fueled by rising inflation and high living costs. The demonstrations have spread and drew hundreds of thousands of people by some accounts across the country over the weekend. U.S.-based human rights activist news agency claimed that at least 512 protesters, including 9 children, have been killed over more than 2 weeks of protests. Meanwhile, Malaysia is one of several ASEAN nations that have established bilateral trade relations with Iran. In 2024, bilateral commerce between the two nations was valued at approximately 2.6 billion ringgit, marking a significant year-on-year increase and positioning Iran as Malaysia's 7th largest trading partner in the West Asian region. Malaysia also ranked as Iran's largest ASEAN trading partner and 19th largest globally, underscoring the importance of the economic relationship. Malaysia's exports to Iran are considerably larger than its imports, with the most recent data indicating exports at roughly 2.16 billion ringgit in 2024, compared with imports of about 140 million ringgit from Iran. Indonesia's National Disaster Mitigation Agency has initiated a weather modification operation in the Jakarta area on Tuesday as a preventive step to lessen the danger of hydrometeorological disasters and severe weather. Jakarta Disaster Mitigation Agency Director Isnawa Aji said the weather modification operation began on Tuesday and will run for the next 5 days. The initiative aims to reduce the risk of further flooding after heavy rains on Monday inundated neighborhood units in South, North and East Jakarta and submerged 33 roads across the city. Authorities reported that floodwaters are gradually receding, though inundation persists in 28 neighborhood units and 6 road sections, with water depths ranging from 10 to 60 centimeters. Prosecutors on Tuesday have requested the death penalty for South Korea's former president Yoon Suk-yeol if he is convicted over his failed attempt to impose martial law. A court in Seoul heard closing arguments in the trial where Yoon is accused of acting as the ringleader of an insurrection. The charges stem from Yoon's brief declaration of martial law in December 2024, which sparked political turmoil. He was later impeached and detained. Yoon has denied the allegations, saying the martial law declaration was symbolic and meant to highlight alleged opposition wrongdoing. The court is expected to deliver its verdict in February. Switching to sports, badminton, the 2026 India Open. National men's single shuttler Li Zijia suffered another early exit in international competition after losing in the first round. However, Malaysia had reason to celebrate in the doubles categories as 3 national pairs advanced to the second round, keeping the team's hopes alive in the tournament on Tuesday. Former world number 1 Zijia, whose ranking has slipped to 144 after a season disrupted by injury, lost 13-21, 21-18, 18-21 to the 27th ranked Danish player Rasmus Jemke in a 62-minute match. Earlier, world number 7 men's doubles duo Man Wei Chung and T Kai Woon cruised to a 21-16, 21-15 victory over compatriots Yap Roy King and Wan Arif Junaidi, setting up a clash with Francis Christo Popov and Toma Jr. Popov in the next round. In the mixed doubles category, Goh Soon Huat and Siobhan Lai delivered an impressive performance, defeating Taiwan's Wu Guanxun and Li Chia-shin 21-17, 21-17 in a repeat of last week's first-round encounter. They will face Thailand's Rutanapak Uktong and Janica Sutjai Praparat for a spot in the quarterfinals. Also advancing to the mixed doubles last 16 were Jimmy Wong and Lai Poo-jing, who overcame Japan's Yuta Watanabe and Maya Taguchi 21-10, 23-21. Jimmy and Pei Jing will next take on either world number 1 pair Feng Yang-zhe and Huang Dong-ping or Denmark's Mads Vestergaard and Christine Busch. And that concludes Nightline this time around. Before we leave, let's take a look at China's Chongqing, a mountainous metropolis of more than 30 million people, known for its complex layout, vibrant nightlife, and appeal to tourists from around the world. With that, I'm Natasha. Thank you for watching and stay safe.